Hello, and welcome to C# Fundamentals with WiseJ.net. In this series of videos, we'll be learning about commands, repositories, and MVVM, that is model, view, view model, in that order. Let's start off by learning about commands.
So here I have the documentation from Microsoft for the iCommand interface. And if we look at it, it's pretty simple. There's two methods, CanExecute and execute, and one event, CanExecute changed. So CanExecute determines whether the command can execute. So it'll return a Boolean, true or false. Let's say that our command is something like add to cart. Let's say it's in a shopping app. So CanExecute would return true if it's possible to add to cart, so like if the product is in stock, and false if it's not possible to add it to the cart, so maybe the product is out of stock. And then execute actually does the thing, so in this case it would actually add the product to the cart. And then CanExecute changed would fire if CanExecute changes, so if the product becomes in stock or the product becomes out of stock. Okay, let's look at command in WiseJ. So WiseJ implements the iCommand interface, the one that we just looked at from Microsoft, and it is essentially the same thing. You've got your execute and your CanExecute. You can either send an action and a func, or an action and a func with arguments. And then we also have the CanExecute changed event. One more thing I want to look at is button. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a button with a click event, and then whenever you click on the button, the command will fire. So if I scroll all the way down to the bottom of the button documentation, you'll see that it implements iCommand source. So button has a command property, and we can assign our command to the button's command property. And when we do that, whenever you click the button, the command will run. So let's go ahead and see this in action. Okay, I've got a blank WiseJ4 project, and let's go ahead and create a command. So we do command, my command. In the constructor, I'm just going to say my command equals new command. And if you remember from earlier, this takes two arguments, execute and CanExecute. Yeah, there we go. So action execute and a func CanExecute. If you're not familiar with actions and funcs, they're essentially ways to pass around functions like variables. So I'm going to be sending in functions like into this command as parameters. The difference between action and func is pretty simple. Actions don't return anything, and functions return something. So because CanExecute returns a Boolean, it has to be a func. So let's go ahead and send in a very simple function. I'm just going to do a lambda function just inside of here. And we're just going to go ahead and show an alert box. So we'll do alert box dot show command executed, and then for CanExecute, I'm just going to return true. Okay, there we go. We've created our command. Now we need to create a button, so I'm just going to go to the designer, go to the toolbox, stick a button in here, hit escape, go ahead and double click on it to add the click event, and we're just going to run that command. So I'm going to do my command dot execute, and you notice it requires command args, so I'm just going to send in an empty command args because I don't actually have anything that I need sent in here. Oh, sorry, new command args. There we go. Okay, now let's run this. Build errors. Oh, I need a semicolon right there. And a semicolon right there. Click on the button, it executes our command. There we go. Now let's say I were to return false, right? Then the command should not execute. However, if I run this, the command is still executing. That's because I just told it to execute, and I didn't actually check if it can execute. So we need to add an if statement here. If my command dot can execute and send in the command args. There we go. So now this should work. And there you go. You click on the button, you cannot execute the command. This is one way we can get it to work, but the better way is to use the built-in command of the button. So let's use that. So if I go up here, I can go button1 dot command equals my command. And if I run this, you'll see it's actually grayed out. I can't even click on it because we're returning false in CanExecute. Let's make this a little more complex. Let's, instead of just returning true or false, let's actually do some logic here. So I'm just going to create an int times clicked. And the constructor, we're going to say that times clicked equals 0. And then in button1 clicked, we're just going to increment times clicked. There we go. And then in our command, we're going to say times clicked is less than 5, right? So if times clicked is less than 5, it'll return true. If times clicked is greater than or equal to 5, it'll return false. So I should be able to click this button 4 times, and then CanExecute will return false, and the button should go grayed out, and I won't be able to click it anymore. So let's run this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now it's grayed out, and I can't click it anymore. Okay, so that was a quick introduction to commands.